Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody on frequency. This is ZS6YI hosting the Worldwide Net, as we normally do every Sunday. I certainly hope you're going to have good reception today. Not many people on, but we have the following. We have G8KOE and Michael. Hello, Michael. Nice to see you back on. Been wondering where you have been. Hello to Benno, Papa Alpha 3 Fox Bravo X-Ray. To Ed, of course, Papa Yankee 2 Radio November, and to Nigel. I'm sure more will come on in a minute or two. We just want to thank the Qatar Satellite Company for allowing us the opportunity to be on the satellite. We also wish to thank the AMSAT DL Group, the AMSAT UK, and of course the British Amateur Television Club. These are all organizations that have put through a lot of know-how, knowledge on their web pages for people to be able to come onto DATV. And without their assistance, this certainly would not have been possible for many. Nothing much to comment on today. I will follow on my next over with an issue we had with noise on our repeater. And we sort of sorted it out, I think, but I'll discuss that in the next over. So with that, Martin, would you like to have an over? G8KOE to take it from ZA6 Yankee India.
Thanks there, Gary, and hopefully we're making it. Let's see. Thanks there, Gary. Hopefully we're making it. Let's mute the sound. Before I forget, was it Nigel when he came on? I didn't hear any sound, I don't think, whether it was my end or not. 20EHH. Just check things through your end and make sure you've not forgotten to push something. But I think it was quiet, but somebody else will probably say. Where am I going to start today? Let's just go to that picture. That's how my LMB used to be, stuck up on the dish. So it's the potties nicely encapsulated in plastic. And let's go back to the next picture there. And as you can see, just pushed on, loads of grease round, and all was fine. Then somebody decided they would mod it, so that's probably the best picture I've got. Now I stuck that on like that, taped it all over, and probably wasn't a particularly good taping job, and didn't really think much of it after that. But then it rained, and it rained quite hard, and I think there was a gap between the join there on the and I hadn't sort of put any grease or anything in there, because I woke up in the morning and found I had no reception at all. So I went up on the garage roof, took the LMB off and tipped the water out. There's that much inside. So I've now greased it up and also taped it up, etc, etc. So I'm hoping that's going to be sufficient, and I've put a bit of a cover over it, temporary one. But yeah, that's that had me going. I like everything else, it's all doom and gloom. You sort of think, you go to bed and everything's working fine, and you wake up and there wasn't a thing. But luckily, that's all that seemed to be the problem there. Right, the other thing that I've been playing with is another one of Tom's good bit of software, which is obviously based on the AirSpy. So that's my offline monitor now, which is what I'm sort of using as the main source. If we go over to the kill the main screen and go over to the other screen, he says, which we are. So I'm looking at things and confusing myself instead of looking at actually what's going out. So that one is, do you know, I always click on the open tuner instead of clicking on the, so that one is Tom's off-air monitor, and I can prove that if I kill the volts to the LMB, it dies, and switch them back on again, and it recovers. So I must admit, it will recover. That's set up that I've got using the quick tune, and I've got the Winter Hill, all the four screens of the Winter Hill, and also the mini tune I can access from there. I did email Tom, but I expect he's very busy. But for all the technical people out there, Benno, for instance, is it possible to control to redirect the that off-air, that locally monitor to the open tuner? Can you get the wideband scanner in that to use the other one? I suppose it's not too difficult, but I hadn't noticed it, and whether it is possible or not, I don't know. What else have we been up to? Yeah, the PPM program that PC program that we used to use, I've ditched it totally. It's you make alterations to the sound routing, etc., and it gets confused. It was a good program, but you know, spending so long to try and sort of find out where things had gone wrong that we've ditched it, and we've gone back to my old faithful couple of 3U meters, which is a lovely simple program. You can point it wherever you like and it just works every time. So that's what we've gone to use. The other thing that was, I think Leon noticed it, I'm sure it was last time, was that the lock light, the SR lock light, was not 100% locked, and it was moving up and down on the mini tune. Well, at that time I hadn't been using the mini tune, which I've now got rigged up as well. And I was curious why that was happening, and I found that I'd reduced the roll-off in DATV Easy too far. It didn't seem to affect the picture because I was playing with it one day, but it did affect the SR lock. So I've increased that again. It's now sitting at 0.25, and the SR lock is back to where it was, which is good. So you learn things. And the other question, which Benno might sort of know as well, so I can throw lots of questions at Benno because he's now I've got the mini tune, which has got obviously the two outputs on it, and I've got the BATC mini tune, which I've added the extra board to. The BATC mini tune seems to be happy and very stable, and I can move around. If I sort of introduce quite often the mini tune can get confused, and it doesn't find Windows doesn't find the mini tune, the prime output. But you know, because I had a problem with the USB socket and replaced it. And then when I came back, the PC wasn't finding it, and I thought that I'd you know, bridged something and not soldered it in that well, metered it all through, and it was fine. Connected it up to a laptop, and it found it every time. So now I must admit I use the BATC mini tune, which seems very stable, and OpenTuner finds that as happy as can be. And if I want to use the original mini tune program, I think it's 10F or whatever I'm running, then I just have one output from the mini tune Pro 2 at the moment, and I switch that on after I've launched the other one. So I'm not sure there's there gets confusion between the code that's written in the two receivers. But let's see. You should have a hardware switch, you know, one of these big ones that you pull down that just shorts out two contacts, a bit like the earthing one, just to put the power on. That works every time. Right. I think that's quite a bit of waffle from me, and lots of vague sort of questions and things. So here we go. It's that moment of time, is it, to see whether the PTT is going to work. So EA7 KAR, this is your big moment. I'll put a test card, and we wait with anticipation from G8KOE.
Well, first time, I think. Make sure I've got some sound coming back as well. Yeah, we have, yeah. Okay, well, it's a miracle because I've been playing with this off and on this morning, and 9 times out of 10 it wouldn't work. It's a touch screen control on the transmitter that I use, and I've never been able to find out exactly what the problem is. Sometimes it just works every time you press it, and then other times never. It could be I've no idea. I'd be just guessing if I'd tried to give you an answer. But I'm rewriting all that software, so if it is a software problem that I put in, it might get changed as I rewrite, because it's all written in Python at the moment. And I'm rewriting it all in Go. And I'm doing the receiver first, because that's a little bit easier than the transmitter, even though the transmitter would be more urgent, if you like. But, you know, little by little. So that's going quite well. Very slow, very slow. But I've got a skeleton of the receiver working. In fact, I was going to watch it on today on the receiver, but it bombed out. It bombed out with an error in the mod code somewhere, but I wasn't catching. I think this kind of thing happens if somebody jumps on air too quickly after the previous person. And I think things get a little bit confused, but I'm not really sure about that. Anyhow, the good news is that I'll only be on once this afternoon. So now you're waiting for the bad news. Well, the bad news is I'm going to talk about my PPM again, and I apologise to Martin because he suffered it on Thursday night. And I don't know whether Benno stuck it out on Thursday or not, but apologies to him if he did. But anyhow, I'm pretty chuffed with it, and it is working. I'll just punch over to it now. This is it. It will look a little bit out of sync with what I'm saying, because I'm picking it up, the audio, after it's already been delayed in the prior to transmission. So there's a, I don't know, 200 millisecond delay on it or something. But as far as I can tell, it's working very well. The reason you're only seeing one channel, I am actually transmitting 2 channels of audio, but I've only got one channel connected to this device, to the PPM. So that's what you're seeing. You're just seeing the left-hand channel. The right-hand would be the red needle. But as I'm transmitting the same thing on both channels anyhow, it would be, they both look the same. Both meters, you'd only see one because one would be underneath the other. So it is working, and it's very close to the specification, which I'll show you. This is, where are we with it? Which button do I press now? This one, I think. Yeah, that one. This is the GitHub page. It's all on here. I've made it as big as I can, but I'm sure you can't read it. But anyhow, there is a GitHub page for this. The GitHub page is quite easy to remember if you can remember my call sign. My call sign is EA7KIR. So it's github.com/EA7KIR. And you'll find it there. So you can download all the source code here. I've written a fairly extensive README, a much improvement on the beta version that I published a few weeks ago. And I'll keep this up to date if I do any more work on it, and I'm sure I will. It tells you what it's about. It tells you where you can buy the hardware if you haven't already got one. Tells you the pin connections, which is sort of here, somewhere. I can't find the cursor, somewhere here. Those are pin connections. Bit more detail on that. You can take the power for it, for the A to D converter, directly from the Lilliput LCD, which is quite handy because it doesn't take much current. Tells you how to set up the jumper switches on the ADC converter. The only strange thing about the Lilliput is you have to power it via the USB socket. You can't actually power it from a pin, which seems a bit strange. People have tried and haven't had much success. So, to be honest, I haven't even tried. But you know, I just power it through the USB, and that powers everything. It tells you the development environment to compile it and so on. It tells you what to do, and most important of all, it tells you how to calibrate it when you've done it. I'll come back to that in a minute. And then I got the PPM specification, which I managed to find, very difficult to find actually, because it was written a long time ago. But it's IEC 60268-10 Type 2A. I'm sure you can remember that. But basically, this is a summary of it, and it tells you the ballistics, which is the attack time, and the decay time of the meter, what it should actually do. And the current state of this version, which is 1.0.0.1, using semantic versioning, impressive, isn't it? Is that the ballistics, as it works now, are pretty damn close to the declared IEC specification. It's not exact, but you'd be pushed to measure it. But I'll improve on that, because as I said on Thursday, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so that's what I want to do. So if you're interested in having a PPM in a box instead of on your computer screen, I mean, you might already have a PPM in a box if you actually I've got two, but I like building things. It's not. I just like the hardware approach, as it were, you know, rather than doing everything on a computer screen. And the only thing I use my computer screen for now, when I'm on air like now, is for the chat. That's the only thing I have on it. Everything else is what you call hardware, you know, transmitters in a box, receivers in a box. You could take it all out portable, but I don't. Maybe one day. But if you're into that kind of thing, you might be interested in building one of these. There's two ways of going about it. One is to do what I'm doing at the moment, which is to buy not just the Lilliput LCD screen, which is very cheap, that's €7 or something, China, or the slightly more expensive analog to digital converter, which I think was about €12 or something, I can't remember. And it's messy. But the other thing you need then, on top of that, is either an attenuator or a little bit of amplification to bring the analog audio up to a level that is acceptable to the analog to digital converter. So, you know, you finish it with all this extra gubbins. But if you like building stuff, it's okay. I mean, it'd all go on a little PC card. But there is an easier way, if you're clever. That is to say, cleverer than me. I2S is the protocol used for audio. Now, maybe you haven't heard of that, but it's prolific. It's everywhere. It's in your car, it's in your CD player, it's in your television, it's absolutely everywhere, and it's in your HDMI feed. Okay, audio is shuttled from one place to another using a protocol called I2S, not to be confused with I2C, totally different. So it exists in Toslink and SPDIF, which is the coaxial audio, one wire or two wire, screen and center core. Toslink is an optical cable. It's just a stream of data. So if you're using HDMI, for example, as I am, and you just happen to be using for example, one of those little tiny HDMI switch boxes, or a distributor or something like that, which I also have, the switch box. Mine actually has a Toslink output, an optical output. So you could take the Toslink output. This is all beyond my capabilities, by the way. You take the Toslink output and then somehow convert that optical signal into a digital I2S stream. And there might be something available on the internet, but I haven't found it. If there's a tiny little box, it should cost about €3, and you're off. And then you wouldn't need to adjust the level at all, because it would already be calibrated. Whereas if you're using... So that's a really easy solution. And if anybody comes up with that, please let me know. You can find my email address on QRZ. Please let me know, because I would love to do this, because I don't fancy building a PC card just for this lot. What else was I going to say? I think that's about it, really. I said this would be a quick thing, but I like to be entertaining, Some people call it just boring. Okay, so that's it from me. I don't think I'll be back on. I'll watch for a little bit, and I might even be back on later, but I don't think I will for now. If I'm going to come back on, I'll make it known to Gary on the chat. So I can't remember where we're going now. Let me find out who I've got to hand over to. I'm handing over to Benno, PA3BX. So this is EA7 KIR on the worldwide Sunday afternoon network, saying QRT for now.
Sorry for that, but my system was not locking. I think I've done it by now. I'm not sure why not, but I can lift it a little bit. I see, because I had a broken preamp just last Thursday. I never repaired it, so I had to repair it in the last 15 minutes after I came in from somewhere along the shore. I was today, because as you see, the temperature gauge, which is on the side, is actually showing 30 degrees, which is shack temperature, but outside it's even more warm, which is crazy for Holland. which means we get bad weather in the evening, and that will be the end of it, I believe. But we have enjoyed it. We have gone away with the camper over the mobile home over the last weekend, stayed somewhere along the shore, then I went to a small camping, and then back to the shore side. Did some dipping in the water, not too much, because basically the sun was too hot. Got enough fluid, and then went back home just in time for the net, only to find out that my preamp was still broken. And now the fan is making noise. Because all the wires still attached to it. Okay, well, that is the main story of today. Over the last week, the main story is the well-awaited, by the way, Michael, never mind repeating yourself, I'm repeating myself as well, because you can only do so much in a few days, and it's always nice that the rest of the world have seen your project as well. I never have been anything involved in great audio, and I'm not expecting to produce great audio, but as we should improve, maybe I can learn from you and reproduce your tool for that. Okay, doing what's the desk cam? Yes. Okay, this was my main project over the last week, which is the Mini Tuner S, updated with the additional board, all wired out, and it works as to be expected. So this is the Mini Tuner build. Actually, it's running at the moment, and it's producing 2 outputs without too much problem. In the meantime, there were a few guys in the local one and one in Belgium who's retried this, sent him some boards, and those work in the meantime as well. A little bit problems with the voltage of the board, the Mini Tuner itself, as one of the mounting spots is very close to the front, to make it a little bit sturdy for the USB port, and that gave some problems in Belgium, but in the meantime they are all addressed and sorted. So I can say this one works, and I now am reproducing this board, which is here on the table. I have built up to 11 pieces by now, and send a few boards to on a package, on just a letter package like this, to England, to save some shipping costs. And this makes it quite easy to send it around. Just put it in a letter and ship it for normal post stamps, as it's only 25 grams of material. This, by the way, is also 25 grams, but obviously a little bit more thick. So I don't like to send that all over the world, but as long as I have spares, I will create them. And if someone doesn't want to solder this nice FTD chip, which is only 64 pins, if they don't want to solder it, they always can appeal to me, and maybe I have a good day and send it out on normal shipment. but I don't think I should be another BATC shop. I don't want to be another BATC shop, and but this is about 11 euros of cost, 17, 20 euros when I built it and tested it and flashed it. I think that's a better price than just what is it, 40 euros for just this piece, which I still think it's ridiculous. Okay, well, that's all for now. And oh, one other project I'm going to work on hopefully this week, if I find some time, is this. If I finished, I should first show this project, because this will be the reason I won't be on to next week. This week will be used next week somewhere in a boat, some 30 kilometers from here, doing some fox hunting on 80 meters. And actually I just found a loose wire, which is why I had some problems over the last few weeks. Last time I was using it, it was doing crazy things. And these are just a bunch of buttons, nice colorful buttons. And I'm going to 3D print a box for this, trying to recreate the thing which is produced in the latest CQTV, which is available since this weekend, which is the bottom control for OBS and for the several switching from OBS. But I still go to the need to find my mouse and then switch off and connect to the right camera, right setting in order to get it. And this means I just have to do it the old ways, and then again need to find my mouse and to go to the test card, and I'm going to pass it on to my friend Ed. Get ready for it over in Brazil from Papa Alpha 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-Ray.
Thank you, Benno. Thank you very much. Papa Alpha 3, Fox Bravo X-Ray, Papa Yankee 2, Radio November coming back. I'm sorry for the long introductory picture, but I don't know what happened. It's only on this slot, this last slot. It takes long time to myself to decode my signal. I don't know exactly why, but that always happens. Okay, nice to see you guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Gary, excellent transmission. I saw you talking to earlier with Martin regarding the YouTube link. You know, they requested me proof of age. I sent them, and I saw that the channel is still blocked, and there is a an area there that is possible to send feedback, and I sent twice asking why this channel still blocked, and obviously no answer. So I think the best way to go is just set up another channel, or even go with tweaks, as Benno suggested. Just go to tweaks, and since it has a much smaller delay, I could check with the tweaks streaming, and yeah, that would be nice. My external camera just went down. I just would like to show you the beautiful day that we are having. Oh, it's back. Okay, it's a beautiful winter day. Blue sky, dry. Temperature outside 23, but actually inside here is 21. Kind of cold, and that's it. Martin, yeah, nice potty, nice feeder you built there. I'm almost sure that your wife is still looking for that Tupperware pot, that plastic pot that you use it to protect your potty. I think she's still looking for it, Marty. But anyways, it was nice there. Michael, very fancy and nice ppm meter you built there. Very interesting. I was not aware about. I mean, I was aware about I2C, but not about I2S, and it's a very. The good thing about the ATV Worldwide Net is exactly that one. We learn a lot of things, and it's very nice to see all you guys working on your projects and sharing the knowledge. It's really very appreciated. And Benno, that's your, I already mentioned that, but your findings and your projects there with this new tuner that you made, it's incredible, very nice, and I think yeah, that's the only option now for people who needs to start receiving the ATV since from the scratch. That's a great finding. That's a great project, Benno, that you did. Speaking about projects, I'm not doing anything special regarding projects, but I got one of these. Yeah, I saw also Gary showed his power meter earlier, and I got this power meter. It's a used one, but it's in a very good condition. It claims that can measure up to 2.5 gigahertz, but it specifies uncalibrated. So what happens is it has a dummy load inside. As you see, it comes from 20 milliwatts up to 20 watts. And it has a dummy load inside, and I put a VNA there and measure return loss SWR, and was not so good. Because this equipment is from the 80s, I think 1982, 1983, something like that, or 1985. It's kind of old. And yeah, I replaced the dummy load. I mean the beryllium chip. I put one more, suitable for higher frequencies, and now I need to proceed with the calibration. There are like 12 trim pots inside to calibrate. So I'm trying to accumulate some motivation to start calibrating all the scales. So probably it's 2 trim pots for each scale. Yep, but that's about it. And it's gonna be a challenge, but let's try. It's a nice piece of equipment and can be useful. I think that's it from me. I'm passing to Nigel. Hey, Nigel, I saw you earlier, and hopefully you can transmit audio, because the first time I could see your lips moving, but there were no audio. So hopefully the audio is gonna be up now, Nigel. And I didn't mention last net, but you got a very fancy microphone there, very nice, with all the colors and stuff. It's cool. All right, so sending to you to Echo Zero, Echo Hotel Hotel, from Papa Yankee to Radio November.
Thanks, Benno. Hopefully. Want to. Just waiting for it to change over. Can I hear me yet? Can I? Oh, it's 1, 2. Oh, bugger. Hang on. Oh, hang on. I've got to put audio on. I'll just stop it and start again. Oh no, it's back on now. I've got to put audio on. I'll just oh no. Stop it and start again. Oh no, it's back on now. I'll tell you, better cook to me. Yeah, good afternoon, good morning and good evening to everybody on site. Yeah, I didn't have any audio because I tested it. Well, how did I know I got? Oh yeah, it wasn't lighting up, and what it was, OBS just done an update to 9.13, and I just checked on the settings, and it just was setting to. Why am I stopped? I know, am I reading? Anyway, I'll continue talking, it might catch up. Yes, do I need a bit more power? Yes, I think I do. But I'll continue talking anyway. Yeah, OBS, right? The microphone was set to default. I had to put it, select it to the microphone. All right. But yeah, no problems. Yeah, I've been away on holiday, so I haven't done nothing. I'm in the shack. But yeah, Martin, yeah, nice to see you. Well, nice to see everybody. Michael, yeah. Benno, yeah, and power meter. I didn't build it, but one of the BATC members built it. And let me see. I'll just show you. I'm not very good. I've got a shaky cam, but I'll just cut it straight across for you to look at. There you go. Takes up to 200 watts, but obviously I'm not licensed to do that. I'm only licensed to 50 watts, but that's, you know, quite not bad. You know, it does the trick. So before I didn't used to have to, you know, have to work on milliwatts using. At least now I can do gigabyte watts out from the PA. That's good. Okay, let's get back to me now. Cut over again. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Oh, nearly dropped it as well. Come on, put it away now. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but what's the PA or 39 Celsius? I'm going to cut transmission now because I don't know if I'm transmitting out alright, but it seems to be, but I don't know if it's locking up. Anyway, I'll hand it back to net control. This is 2E0EHH, handing it back to Gary, ZS6YI, net control. Over to you, Gary, thank you, and catch.
Okay, 100% Nigel. Yeah, once you got things going, it worked. I think there are too many buttons and too few fingers. Anyway, all good, all good. And let me just quickly go down the list. I saw Mike is watching. He just said he's taking a break from the rally, so I don't think he's going to come on, but always welcome, Mike, if you are on. Firstly, Martin, yeah, that's crazy that the rain got in there. Next time use self-vulcanizing tape. It's quite expensive, but it works, and you'll be a little bit better off. Michael, excellent on your, I call it a VU meter. You call it a tune-up meter, but it's excellent. And really, I know you're a perfectionist, but you're not going to get it much more perfect than that. And we won't notice it anyway. But great job, great job. So it's nice to have the things in discrete form instead of all on the software side. Benno, yeah, great project as usual. You're always very busy, and that's quite a nice project that Brian published in the BATC magazine. I downloaded it today, and I think that's something that many of us are going to duplicate for sure. Ed, yeah, for sure. Ham radio does empty the pockets. There's no doubt about that. Now, I was talking about the noise control, what we had on the repeater. I'll come back to that in a minute. Just to show you the power meter at the moment, running about, let's see, 20 watts, 22 watts at the moment. Let me just get a different scale. Yeah, 23 watts, thereabout. So, quite accurate. It works very well. I don't know why I'm running so much power. Let me just check. I'm just on the 10 dB scale. It's higher than the beacon, but my energy density is not so bad. But coming back to the repeater, we had to go and visit the repeater yesterday because there was a lot of noise on the repeater, and it's that silly type of noise that really messes you around. And with the repeater site like this tower is 50 meters, the concrete tower, and this is all jammed full of microwave stuff. And then above it is where we have our amateur antenna, which we'll show you in a minute. But there's a lot of corrosion that can take place, other people's antennas that can cause trouble, because we only got this scratchy noise when a weak signal came in, or even a relatively strong signal at times. So we had to go and sort that out yesterday. That's seen from the base of the tower down at the cars, and that is yours truly there directing things from a jar. I did climb up, but geez, like what a bloody job. You need to be well equipped. I used to do it 20 years ago without any difficulty, but it was a bit more difficult this time around. However, let's just have a look. This is our 4-stack that we've got up. And so we had to check all these areas to make sure there's no corrosion. Checked all the plugs, made sure that was right. Checked the coax cable, for example, because that could mess you around. And then also checked all around the tower. Make sure that all the antennas, other people's antennas, were at least tight and not corroded. It was quite a job to get all that done. And we didn't really find much fault except with our own antenna. And this is what we found. You know, this used to be nicely cable tied in this area, for example. And over the years, the cable ties had vanished or broken off in the wind. And so this could have caused part of the issue. There was nothing wrong with the cable that we could determine. So we still tightened up everything properly, because these type of faults can be horrendously difficult to discover. Anyway, just another view of the tower. I don't like these type of bolt-on towers, to be very honest with you. I think that is a real cause for static electricity. And you know, when you're running, we were running about 80 watts. We can run 160 watts, but we're only running 80 watts, which is enough for a repeater. But when you go with high power like that, and you're also using the same antenna to receive with, then the slightest little bit of arcing, of course, you're going to pick up. You're going to enjoy the benefits of of all the misery. But anyway, so we had to go and check the whole tower. This is a chap. He's not a ham. His name's John. He helped us yesterday because we now had to have guys with special licenses to climb the tower. We had two. One was is a radio ham. That's Alan, ZD6HWG. But old John came to assist us very kindly and did a good job. He does this type of work every day, so it wasn't unusual. And that's us some time back. That's Mark, ZS4 Oil, and yours truly. Skipped an afternoon off work, so we quickly came through to check the repeater. SWRs were checked. That all looked very good. Repeater running fine, but I did find something. Well, Mark did actually. He discovered that on our linear, two of the fans weren't really working. They were like jammed. So that could have been part of the cause. Maybe the linear had unsoldered a bit or formed little cracks on the PC board, which we will check. I've got it at home, so I'll do that during the week. And then just check everything and then maybe go and put it back. But anyway, that is the linear amp that we built exactly 7 years ago. That's the power supply at the bottom, and then on top where the two fans are. That's a big heatsink. It's a Motorola based thing. That's just the other side of it. Sorry, is it? Yeah, that's the other end of it. Let's just put... So, okay, now going back to the repeater, I have these anti-resonant notches. Tried the thinner wire at one stage. It was fine, but there were losses, so I went to a different type of construction. Just took a pipe, a little copper pipe, and smacked it flat, and then put the anti-resonant notch cap on. Although I must say, on the repeater that we're currently using, I use a pipe, a copper pipe with a little pipe inside, and then I slide a PTFE. Well, actually, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a low-density polyethylene rod, which has a hole in it, up and down. So I changed the dielectric constant, so the capacitance changes, and by doing that, I can then get the anti-resonant notch to move where I want it to, and it's also less critical, because with this one particularly, you just touch the little screw, this little screw here, the other side, of course, you can just see it sticking out over there at the bottom. You just touch that and you could be off. So I normally tune it, make sure it stays tuned, and I take Q-Tex. I rob my wife's Q-Tex and quickly dab it with a good, generous amount of Q-Tex to prevent the anti-resonant notch from moving. Anyway, there are some of the cavities we build. These thin ones, it's an aluminium pipe and aluminium welded on top. Works very well, but this is made from a copper tube, just copper plate, which we roll and then riveted on the side. Overlaps and very small rivets, copper rivets we put in, and then the base at the bottom. And just a bit of strength over there. And this works very, very well. It gives you a very high Q, which results in very good insertion properties, in that you have very low insertion loss but very high rejection. Anyway, we'll go. That's just now a unit that I built up for another repeater, and just the 4 cavities like that work very, very well. We get up to about 130 dB suppression and around about a 1.5 dB insertion loss, because we're only using 2 per line, you see. So anyway, those are the smaller ones. I built that for we have a little club for the youth, and they've got their own repeater, and this is one that I built up for them, and so that they could operate their own little nets. I don't know how active they are these days, but anyway, at one stage it was good fun. That's a Hewlett-Packard network analyzer that I used. I've got something newer now, all fancy-dancy, but I still tend to migrate back to the Hewlett-Packard. I'm more a fay with that, but anyway, they both work well. Just a point on these connectors. I tried various bargain T-pieces to find that they were absolutely junk, and eventually I went for Telegardner. One of those T-pieces costs more than 20 of the other rubbish things we bought, the knockoffs. But the reason is, this is all, in the Telegardner, it's all solidly soldered inside. Whereas with the cheap stuff, they have one rod running right through, and then they have a rod at the bottom, and then they have a spring over here. And that spring now makes contact, and it's no good for even VHF, maybe for HF, but not for what we're doing. Anyway, so that was a lesson learned. Made quite a few dB difference, as did the coupling cables. The coupling cables, or the lengths, are extremely important. What I do is I do it on a network analyzer. I crimp the one end and then lightly crimp, let's say, this side, and put it on the network analyzer. And then, of course, you've got to calculate from there to the center. So what I do is I put a piece in that length and then work it out on the network and trim it until it's exactly a 90-degree phase difference. And that gave me quite a few dB. On the set of cavities, it was something like 10 dB better rejection. Just those. And I've heard many people say, oh, that's not important. Well, I beg to differ. Anyway, that's just a different view of it. You'll notice that the other thing is blanked off, because I could, if I wanted to make a passband type filter, I could as well, while we were busy lining this all up on the milling machine. Because after your pipes are there, it's quite high, you know. I could have probably done it before I welded it, but we welded this plate on to make sure it's a perfect earth, and then the lowest form of impedance there, and then just put it on the milling machine. Luckily, I've got a very high, I can go at 1.5 meters or something on the Z-axis, so it was no problem just clamping it and doing it. Anyway, that's just another look at it. And then, yeah, this is the set for the school boys, the school children, and worked all very well. And that's just the bigger cavity. I prefer these because the insertion losses in the end are lower. You can just see on the edge where we riveted it, and that also dispels another myth, because at one stage people were writing, you have to have this a perfect sphere, it's a perfect cylinder, but that's not true. I overlapped it and then just riveted it and then just soldered it. It was copper. It's quite heavy though. That's the only problem. If I could solder aluminium easily and properly without it later on causing little cracks, I would have done that rather. But anyway, And that's just a quick sketch I made to explain to somebody what we needed to do. That was the school one, where the cables are very accurately done. I was playing with a quarter wave there and a half wave over here to see. It didn't make terribly much of a difference. In the end, I went for a quarter wave. This is just an old sketch. But I was trying to see if I can't get a better result going, you know, for 180 degrees out of phase almost, but that didn't really do anything. So I just went for quarter wave each end. But okay, not a great photograph, but this is where we were setting them up. Still tuning. I know these were photos with a shaky camera for sure. But at 114 dB, I wasn't happy with that. We got another 20 dB, got about 134, 135 dB, and for an insertion of about 1.5 dB eventually. And that's what it looks like with the two. It's a little bit of a crazy curve, that, because of the arrows over here. It sort of makes us look better, but they're actually relatively well balanced. And then just another view of it. I think that one I had 1.5 dB insertion loss, so not bad. Then I've also done for our DMR type repeater, designed a duplexer for 70 centimeters. So we drew it out and then first calculated all these lengths over here. That's quite important. That's just like your phasing cables and all these pickup loops, because that can mess you around. So I'll show you. We took that drawing and put it into CAD and then developed a couple of drawings like that. And these are the little coaxial cables which have been just rolled up to save space. And then just another view, and you can see the little pickups, and the transmitting or the receiving pickups are on a little bit bigger, and the transmitting ones down there. But let's give you another view, and those are more or less the sizes, 22 millimeters and then 47 millimeters, just looped over itself, and then it of course induces. So anyway, that is what we were playing with this week, and it was good fun being out at the repeater site again. I haven't been there for a long time. It was still kept in good nick. Mark ZS4 oil, that's his responsibility. Mark used to work in my company for many years, so it was nice. He was very interested in repeaters and so forth. So he learned a lot and programs a new Motorola. Got a brand spanking new Motorola in there. So all good. But I just hope we've got rid of the noise. I can't write a guarantee just yet, because, you know, we found pieces of cable straggling down from the tower, so we had to roll that up and make sure that it wasn't touching anything, because the slightest little bit, you know, when you're transmitting high power, of course everything around it gets energized, and if there's a little bit of corrosion in the tower or anything like that, or even with another guy's antenna, it can form little sparkles, and which of course your receiver, being very sensitive, we go down to a 0.2 microvolt for 20 dB quietening in repeat mode, which is very sensitive, or perhaps a little bit too sensitive, but because we're running high power, we wanted to balance it too, you see. There's no point in running high power and then you can't hear the guy. Although we do have a voting system in with a capability of 8 voters. At the moment, we haven't got any switched on right now because we have to determine where the noises are coming from. But we normally run about 4 voters, which are set far away. And then we have a 70 centimeter link to the main repeater where we do the voting. And so it's got a very, very wide footprint. And with good audio, even with a little handheld, people can get into the repeater. And of course, with 80 watts, 100 watts, we normally run at 80 watts, 50% duty cycle. And even with a little handheld, people can hear it over a large area. All right, that was what I had to mention today. So there was a little bit of amateur radio work done for a change, although I've been very busy with Australian guests. But it was fun to break away and do this. Right, Martin, I think to you, sir. Ah, Leon's just joined us. Leon, would you take it? ZS1 Mexico, Mexico, And would you pass it to Martin? ZS1 Mexico to take it from ZS6 Yankee India. We'll call him on the next over. In the meantime, he's probably switching on power stations and stuff. Take it away, Martin. It's from ZA6YI.
Right. Yes, I will take it away. Yeah, that's me. Hopefully I've got some sound. Right. Let's mute that. Well, that was very interesting on the cavities there. It took me back many years when we started off putting a repeater up in Brighton in Sussex. There wasn't a lot of information around, and the sort of test equipment we had was virtually nothing. The height was, we had a polyscope, or one of our guys did have, and got a new valve for it. So that helped. But most of the cavities were set up with using a transmitter, a reel of cable, so as the transmitter didn't get upset when you were feeding RF, and plotting the response through with a power meter at the other end. It took absolutely ages. The cavities we used on 2 meters anyway were based on GB3 SN, which were square cavities. And they were bent up of nice metal and bolted sort of together, and were silver plated. So where the square top pushed in and it was bolted, and there were BNCs coming out, and you had the coupling loops, and you had lots of T pieces, and you can imagine all the intermittencies that there were. It was horrendous. One of the first mistakes we made was use, because we needed to get it silver plated, and somebody said, I can do that much cheaper. He was a cosmetic guy, and he plated it with cadmium, which was totally and absolutely useless. Yes, I think the surface resistance of that, you probably know more, was absolutely, the cavities went from being okayish before we had them done to being totally and absolutely useless. Anyway, the capacitors and such like, we ended up putting them inside to get rid of a lot of the wiggly T pieces and such like. Nowhere near to the sort of standard you are, but I sort of was looking to see if I could find the information we had. This, you're probably not going to be able to read it very well, but I will show it. Let's go to the main screen and turn it on. I suppose I could make it a bit bigger. But parameters of a duplex operation for repeaters. I won't hold it too much, but we'll keep going. Something a little bit more interesting. This was about all the information that was around. But it helped us, gave us some sort of ideas. A lot of the information was based on the early Storno radios that was used, and they played with adding little coils and such like to help on the input to those. But I don't know how much more I'll keep it going, but it makes you laugh really. Oh, and of course an isolator, or hexlators I think were coming along. We could never afford one. But yes, loads of trimmers and things. It's horrendous that it worked at all. But anyway, that's enough of that. Let's go back to me. Yeah, the rusty bolt effect, that's an interesting one. We suffered horrendously at times. Not a nice fault. Originally when we started, we used one of those nice white stick amateur collinears. Received very well, transmitted very well. Try and do the two together and it was disastrous. You got all sorts of desensing, etc, etc, etc. We ended up, I think it was a 5/8 we ended up with, which was an aerial that came off of what used to be used by the fire brigade over here. Really solid construction, DC earthed I think, etc, etc. That worked really well. The only time we found it didn't work is when we went up there when signals had died and it had completely sheared off. I was wondering if we get any signals out at all. But another repeater site which had guy wires feeding the mast, you could get a bunch of keys and you could just touch it on the actual guy wires and it would knock the repeater out completely. So yeah, and not always things are that close to you, so it you know, it can be miles almost. But we ran about 80 watts on the heyday. The other funny sort of thing that we used to get is that you'd been doing some work on the repeater, you'd taken it away, you perhaps set the cavities up with their high quality test equipment, you brought it all back, you installed it, you switched on, and desense was absolutely horrendous. So we used to, in those days, just go across the road to a little transport cafe type thing that was opposite the race course in Brighton, have a cup of tea, etc. Come back and all the descents had disappeared. And this happened a number of times. And why is there always a lift whenever you put a repeater back on? Because we'd sit on the park bench outside and work absolutely phenomenal distances. And it happened again a number of times. But yeah, that's my sort of some of the repeater stories. But all pretty good anyway. And before I forget to Leon, who's joined us, hopefully he's watching, who mentioned my lock light, or the SR lock not being locked. I think he wasn't around probably when I mentioned it earlier. It's because I'd altered the roll-off in DATV Easy. I'd rolled it off too much, and that causes that problem. It's now set at 0.25, I think, at the moment. I'd gone lower than that because I was just playing with it to see what effect it made, which it didn't make an effect on the picture, but did make a effect because I didn't have the mini-tune software running, so I didn't see that there was a problem. But I tested it afterwards, after we had the net. Right, have you plugged everything in? Are you going to make it? We'll try. ZS1 Mike, for you to take it after a test card, JKE.
Well, I'm actually on the air. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Yeah, hello everybody. This is One Moon Mechanic. quite a bit late. We went to a Chinese restaurant, a friend of mine and his wife, and I completely forgot about the net. So I got back and I actually fell asleep now during Gary's long cavity explanation. So I didn't realize you called me in, but thanks for having me anyway. And yes, oh, repeaters. Oh, it's dark here. It's heavily overcast. It's threatening to rain, but it's not raining, but it's very, very dark. And I only have my one LED panel on. The other one is cluttered with papers. So yes, repeaters and desensitizing and crackling noises, and oh yeah, that can keep you busy for long times. Yeah. Okay. It's cold. It's cold in Worcester, and it's wet. But I managed to do a bit of painting on the buildings outside. You know, the future workshop. I want to seal the outside before I do the inside, and I waited 1 month too long for the concrete and everything to dry out properly, and so now we're stuck with having to wait for the rain to dissipate before we can paint. Anyway, we're managing. Okay, nothing new on this side. I'm still battling with my 2.4 gig amplifier, which the boards came beautifully made, but I didn't realize that particular chip, the input side was matched, but not the output side. So I put in 5 milliwatts and I get out 1 milliwatt. So I've with a little bit of space I left on the exit transmission line, I'm busy trying to match it now, and I'm up to 110 milliwatts out now. 5 milliwatts in, 110 milliwatts out. So we're making progress, but yeah, it's a bit of a disaster, but that's what happens when you don't read the data sheet properly, every little bit of it. It says, yeah, it's matched, but only the input, not the output. So yeah, okay. Maybe I must look for another chip, but I've got 25 of these. Gee whiz, and they're so nice. They've got 30 dB gains and almost 2 dB, 2 watts output. Anyway, I'm not getting 2 watts out. I'm getting 115 milliwatts out at the moment. But yeah, that's enough for the job that we have for it at the moment. But I'll have to get another box, because the plastic box is not going to heat sink it properly now. It's running a bit warm, and it's got internal thermal sensing and debiasing, and so as it warms up, the power goes down. So it's only 115 milliwatts when it's nice and cool. It drops down to about 60 milliwatts when it's like that level. Then it only gives out 60 milliwatts. Right. I haven't got the list in front of me. So the next man in line, please take it from ZS1 Mike.
That's a sharp over. I was already in the air. I wasn't paying attention close, so I wasn't aware you were coming in between us. Actually, I was doing some typing on the WhatsApp boxes, because I got some questions about these boards. Well, they are available as long as I have them. I'd rather send them locally, but then I was, again, like I said, if someone doesn't want to solve it as that 64 pin FTD chip, I understand that. It's not really hard if you can get a hang to it, but after 10 boards I get a little bit tired. So well, anyway, I still have about 11 pieces left of this chip, and I'm not going to order more, so I hope it will conclude that. But for now I have a few left, and they are available. So I already got some requests on the WhatsApp box, and this is also how I want it. Send me a mail on my call sign at amsa.org, which is perfect, and check the Dropbox on all the information I have, and it will also be available if Thomas back. He will put some remarks on there on his website, as I don't host a website. I don't want to host a website because I get too much questions then. Hi. Okay, well, anyway, yeah, I think that's a good idea. If in the future Sarah is still alive, that is an idea to get the boards from GLC with the chip, at least the 64-pin chip mounted. And if I get a decent request, I will do just that. But I also hope, as for instance India, I know several guys want to have that part. I really hope someone like Sharo is going to set up a local action there, because shipping those parts all over the world and then sold them somewhere and then send them all over the world on a board is kind of crazy, I believe. And this is also just why I want to help the local community here in my area. And I mean, Germany is not too bad, and Belgium is only a few clicks more. But I don't want to send them all over the world. But yes, Ed, I will help you, and I will, as I told you. Okay, well, anyway, nice, great job, Gary. I was looking at that. I'm also involved in the 2-meter repeater here in the Netherlands at the local station, and I believe that we got just a new filter over a few months ago. Well, half a year ago, we decided to get a new filter assembly, and we got them from Sweden. Actually, they create filter sets in a nice 19-inch rack with just the 3 plugs you need, all end connectors on the top, and they are sold by spec. Also, you say I need it for this frequency with this slot and this, well, all those specs you can order, and then they should be temperature controlled, and I've compensated, I should say, and I believe they are using that, especially for in Sweden. You understand, temperature gets cold. Like here in Holland, sometimes we get like 35-40 degrees on the site, and a few months later we have -10 on the site. Well, -10 is not too bad, and +40 is not too bad, but the range is pretty bad for all this copper. So they have aluminum ones, and they are temperature compensated, they say, so they have a temperature range which is pretty far. I don't have specs in my head. It's €1,000 plus or minus, including shipping, so it's not too cheap. But on the other hand, if you don't have all the tools available which you have, it's maybe a little bit more easier. Yeah. So that's I think that's also Invar alloy is used for those filters, Mike. So this is also something I think would be a good idea to think about. At least you need to know that it's there, It's in Sweden, and they make beautiful filters on spec, nicely done, and just connect 3 wires to it. Okay, well, that's all for now. I think passing it on to Ed for the next over. Ed, maybe you can switch on and get a nice direct over like myself just did with Leon. From Papa Alpha 3 Fox Bravo X-Ray, off and clear. Bye bye and have a nice week. And I won't be on next week, as I told before.
Thanks, Benno. We're gonna miss you next week. And thanks for your attention regarding everything. Yeah, great work on the repeater there, Gary. Yeah, that remembers the time I used to actually I didn't work with repeaters, but I worked a lot with digipeaters. The time I was APRS, I think it was in the 90s. Yeah, there were no Google Maps, there were no Waze, nothing, and we implemented a very interesting APRS network down here when we had to go up to the mountains and install the digipeaters, make some coverage tests. It's a good outside activity, playing with those amateur radio repeaters or related activities. It's nice, and also, as Gary showed, it's a great technical challenge. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to mute myself, but I'm sorry about that. Yeah, and what else? Oh, hey, hello, Leon. Nice to see you. I wish you could do some painting on your blank, boring background. It's, I miss that book of cars, your bookshelf. It's much more nice to see that background than this boring white paper that I don't know if it's paper or any other type of thing that you put back on your back. So maybe you can do some painting, or I don't know, just to make it a more nice to see you. Not that you're not nice to see, only you, but getting some background is always nice. All right, guys. I wish you all a great upcoming week. Yeah, tomorrow is Monday. It's gonna be another hard week, and hope to see you next Sunday. 7312, all the best, and I pass now. I believe that Echo Alpha 7 Kilo India Radio, he mentioned he would do only one over, right? So he left, I believe. So back to Nigo, to Echo Zero, Echo Hotel Hotel from Papa Yankee 2 Radio November. Back to you, Nigo.
Thanks, Ed. Always a pleasure to follow you, my friend.
Thanks, Ed.
Oh. Yeah, and let's cut over to me. Yeah, a good night this afternoon by all. Not many on, but I mean, what's been on's been okay. Gary, your repeater, big boys, and they're. I was to say big boy theirs and the toys, but that's not right. That's belittling people. I don't want to do that. But yeah, I wonder how big footprint that repeater tower is, mate. I mean, it's got quite a lot, big one, and so I'd imagine the footprint would cover quite a bit of South Africa. But yeah, very good. Very, way past my ability. I dip my toes and have a go, and if it all works, good. And I don't know why it keeps blinking out on the transmission. It's only 32 C's on the so I don't know. I better find out because I'm not receiving, but I'm only receiving on a 1.1 meter dish, but I'm transmitting on a 1.2 dish. So probably it's too hot for the received dish. I don't know. I'll have to have a look. I normally can get myself okay. There's nobody. Sometimes it affects if it's somebody close transmitting near us. I sometimes don't receive it then. But I mean, anyway, it's okay. But yeah, good night. I should be on next week. Might have a bit more to say. I don't know. I said being away last week, so I've done nothing. I'm still suffering with my health. I've got a bad sciatic nerve trapped at the moment, so that doesn't help things. Anyway, you don't want to hear about me moaning when I'm not really. The wife was just said you moan, but you know, hey oh. Anyway, enough from me. So I'm going to pass it on over to my good friend Gary. And yes, Leon, good day to you, sir. And nice to see you. And yeah, I think the background, it is a bit bland, but it's okay. I think it gives more because you can see the shadow you pass at the back. Well, can't be no worse off of me anyway. Anyway, that's good anyway. Okay, back to net control ZS6YI when I put a test card up. Thank you very much and catch you all next week. God bless. And let's click off that. Oh no, I've got to do that first. Sorry. Oh, sixes and threes. Just cut straight into the test card. Wait, I cut transmission when the test card comes up. If it comes up. Thank
Okay, very good indeed. Nice over this time, Nigel. Now and then a few breaks, but nothing to worry about. All good. Hello, Leon. Welcome aboard. Sorry I bored you to sleep. Maybe it's a hypnotic effect. But anyway, I think we sorted out the noise so far. Touch wood. And hello, Mike. I had a chuckle at your comment there about the CEO. Anyway, I see you will be absent next week, field day again. Why don't you take a portable station? There we go. And I see you had a profitable day. And similarly, Gary and Leon. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I see you had a profitable weekend. You made more than what you spent. That's great. If you can just continue that way. Yeah. Anyway, chaps, I'm going to close the net because I need to go onto the local repeater bulletin, which is already started. So while they're rambling on with the bulletin, I can close up here. And I just want to listen to what the repeater sounds like. So far, as I say, touch wood, it's been great. But, you know, no guarantees. Had one found a definite fault, I could have said, but no. But we all know that. And very interesting, Martin, on what you had to go there with, say and show us. Yeah. Well, it's making a profit because with your inflation now, things you just get more dollars or pounds for what you spent originally. Okay, with that, Whoever wants to continue with it, I'm going to close the net, if you don't mind. We wish everyone a very happy week, and we see each other next week, all being equal. And yeah, time does go. Do you know that it's 6 months ago today that we had Christmas? So only another 6 months till Christmas. So yeah, quite a thought. To you, Martin, and then I'm gone. G8KOE, ZA6 Yankee India, 7-3 all.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to come back to me, but I'll take it there, Gary. But, yeah, the repeater side of things, it was very ancient. A lot of the early cavities, the UHF ones were some that came off aircraft, I think they were. They had a little winding handle on the top. And you could actually take them apart and put a plate halfway to reduce them to what they were actually, and they work quite well. But we had quite all sorts of cavities, but I think the cavities that are used on the repeater in Sussex now are quite big, to put it mildly. But anyway, you've disappeared, and yeah, I don't know whether you logged what I said there, Leon, and I prefer background to you, but was that the SR lock being at 100% didn't happen because I'd reduced the roll-off on in DATV Easy, and it didn't affect the picture, but it did noticeably affect that RF lock. So as you can see, I'm 100% now. Right, I'm going to disappear. We'll be on next week. We've just got a bit of sunshine. It was all overcast and it's not been particularly brilliant day, but has been good for Glastonbury, which I only watched a little bit of it, as it's just up the road. You feel you've got to, but yeah, some interesting music. Right, I say 7-3s, and I'm not sure who wants to take it next, or if anybody does, but I'll put up a test card and disappear from G8KOE.